Hey guys, this is Jeremy and welcome back to Reps and Revenue. Today is leg day. Today we're going to be talking about building a strong foundation because legs are the foundation. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Jeremy, and we're here to journal my post-surgery recovery. So I had surgery a couple of weeks ago, and I have to kind of rebuild my strength so that way I could lift heavy weights again. And I'm also rebuilding a business. So yeah, we're gonna be doing leg day workout, and legs are my favorite day because legs, I think, are the powerhouse of your entire body. If you don't have a strong legs, the rest of your body is gonna be a little bit weaker too. So, and that's why I'm calling this the foundation episode. And I'm super excited to kind of get into this workout, talk to you about business, talk to you about my personal journey, and talk to you about my health journey. So let's get into it. So our first workout for today is going to be our squats. We're going to use a Smith machine. We're going to do some squats. And the cool thing about the Smith machine is it provides the stability, which allows controlled growth, right? So in business, what stability do you have that's helping you with growth, right? And for me, what I think that should be for most businesses is your customer list, right? So you have your customer list, and your customer list that you have is underutilized. Most businesses, you have your customer lists, you don't really communicate with them. You're not emailing them, you're not sending them, check-ins, you're not even asking them for reviews. And that's one of the things that I notice with businesses. You have these customer lists and you're not communicating with them at all. So that's one area that Empire helps out with. We build email systems, so that way you guys can focus on running your business while we focus on doing all the email for you. But even more so than the foundation and having stability is your health, right? So when it comes to surgery and my health, one of the things that I thought about was, I was scared about was me losing my habit, right? And that was the one thing that, in May 2025, I was at 210 pounds. And then that's when my eyes were open, right? Like, I'm way overweight, super obese, need to lose this weight. I have a 2-year-old and had a baby on the way. So that really kind of geared me up to wanting to make sure that I'm losing weight. And how am I supposed to lose weight without a consistent, stable system in place? So what did I do? I weighed my food, right? That was the number one thing, was weighing my food. And, sometimes I was surprised. I was shocked by, how much I was eating. Things where I thought were, a few things that I thought were a few servings ended up being like 3 times as many servings as it was. But weighing my food provided that one set of consistency, stability that allowed me to do it. And that was the core foundation of my diet, was weighing the food. It wasn't about counting calories, right? I didn't care if I had 2,300 calories in one day and 1,900 calories the other day. What I cared mostly about was making sure that I knew how much I was actually eating. See, knowing your data is super important. And it's one of the key foundations to any business, knowing your data. If you're not tracking your data, you're not going to know what's working, what's not working. And it's the same way with your food, for me at least. I needed to know, how much rice am I having? How much protein am I having? And that was a really key for me to losing the weight. And I took those practices that we learned from, consistency at home and at health. And I also applied this to my new business. So, also in 2025, I shut down an old business of mine It was a direct mail business. I shut that down. It wasn't a business I could see myself in long term. There was a lot of things that didn't work for my personal life that I wanted out of it, and I didn't want to be stuck in a business that didn't align with my personal goals and my professional goals. So long term, I just didn't see it working for me. So I terminated my agreement and exited the business. But then, that didn't mean I was done with business forever. My goal, my mission is to be a positive impact in my local community. So what that means is I want to help out those who I surround myself with. And that doesn't mean just my physical community. It also means my online community. And I took what I learned from business, and I took some of the consistencies and the things that worked in my prior business, and I applied it to my current business too. So, for example, one of the things that worked was emailing my customers 2 times a week. Now, with direct mail, we have one due date every single month. And that due date comes up and everything needs to be complete. It doesn't matter if you're not ready. If you're not ready, then you're not getting printed, right? Because there's a due date for print. Because when we get that printed, we need to get it printed, then we need to get it shipped, then we need to get it delivered. And there's no room for delays. So one of the practices that I implemented in that business was sending my customers emails 2 to 3 times a week. Even when they weren't mailing with me, even when they weren't, or even when they were mailing. And that was a huge benefit to my business. I saw lots of customers who normally wouldn't be mailing certain times of the year deciding to mail, right? Because before we started doing the email, we were calling them up, hey, do you want to be in this next month's mailer? And that's another confusing part about mail is it would be right now, let's say it's March. The due date would be in March. The mail wouldn't go out till the end of April, right? So sometimes it's hard to think that far out. But when we were sending out the email saying, hey, look, in April, you're on your way to Mother's Day, because sometimes the May mail doesn't come out until after Mother's Day or before. So either way, like you remind them about all these things that they're not thinking about. You put that into play, and now all of a sudden they're contacting me. It was great, and that was one thing that worked. But then I looked at the customers that I serviced too, and the customers that I was servicing, they weren't sending emails out to their customer list because I was one of their customers, right? I was one of their customers. I was waiting for them to send me emails, but they weren't doing that. So like they're paying me to do mail, but they're not showing up every single day in their customer's email box. And that's, that core, that strong foundation is, you need to be marketing, but what better way than emailing your current customer list? And the same thing with fitness. To finish my last set, because what we did here was I'm doing squats. I got 105 pounds. I'm doing 4 sets of 5 each. Normally I could do a lot more, but because not a lot more, I would say maybe like 10 pounds each side more, so like 25 pounds heavier than this. But because I want to ease into things, I don't want to re-injure myself, I'm just taking it a little bit easy. But when it comes to fitness, it's the same thing with the foundations, right? Yeah, I'm doing leg day today, but when it comes to building a strong foundation, it's really about showing up and being consistent, right? So one thing you need to do is start, right? You need to start. And that was the hardest, like sometimes that's the hardest part. So how did I start? I didn't have this machine, I didn't spend thousands of dollars for a machine, because that's what a lot of people end up doing. They think buying a machine is going to motivate them to work out. But that's not the case for everybody. For some people, that's the case. Some people get motivated. They like, yeah, we have this machine. Now I have to work out. I pay thousands of dollars for it. But that's not always the case. So what I did, I just turned on the TV, and I had Apple Fitness Plus. So I turned on the TV, went into the living room, played some Apple Fitness Plus, did one workout a day. And the Apple Fitness workout was like what? Anywhere from 10 to 25 minutes long. One per day. 10 minutes if I wasn't feeling it, 25 if I was in the mood for it, right? And that turned into a weekly habit, you know? Okay, you know, my kids went to sleep, time to go turn on Apple TV. You know, oh, my kids went to sleep, time to turn on Apple TV. Or hey, you know, we're not doing anything in the living room. My kids are, you know, playing on their iPad or something. Let me turn on Apple TV. Because that was another thing too. I wanted to be an example for my kids. I wanted to be in front of them. I wanted to show them, you know, what an example is supposed to be. So I turned it on in front of them too. And that habit built my foundation where now I'm able to work out 6 days a week. And it actually feels harder to miss a day than it does to not miss a day, right? It's like I have to consciously think about, you know, not about skipping a day. It feels worse. So yeah, build your foundation and everything else is going to follow through with it. So next up, my next workout are deadlifts. I need to prepare for that. So I will change out these weights, I would prepare for it. I'll be right back. All right. Whoops. So next up are deadlifts, right? And deadlifts are really all about your core strength. It's really all about like raw strength and making sure you got that core strength so that way you can really do this. In this case, it's really all about controlled motion, right? And it's really a lot of heavy lifting. Whew. Breathe. Hold on one second. I'm having a hard time. Not a hard time, but heavy. Oh. All right, awesome. Hey, so that's deadlifts for you, right? Deadlifts, really about raw core strength, and you really feel it on your hamstrings too. And that's why I love leg day, because it's really about like everything that holds the rest of your body up. And if you got strong legs, you can do a lot more than people. Well, I feel like I can do more than people who don't have strong legs. And you know, that's one of the things when it comes to, you know, to business and to email. You want to make sure that you're doing your core responsibilities, right? So one thing I noticed when it comes to email is a lot of businesses, you're only reaching out to your customers when you want them to buy from you, right? And of course that makes sense, right? You're in business. You always want them to buy from you, but your customers see that. Like, they're not dumb. I mean, I don't know how else to word it, but like they see that, right? They see you're only reaching out because you have a sale. You're only reaching out because you want our money. And they notice that. So why are you giving them a reason other than a huge discount or a great offer for them to spend money with you? And that's the thing. Most people are not. And that's what when it comes to doing email, you have this strong asset, which is your customer list. People who are already like waiting to hear from you, and you're not utilizing it to the best of your ability. So like one of the things that I like to promote, or I like to advise people to do, is you want to send out educational emails. This is really great in a lot of spaces because when you educate somebody else on what they can do, like how they can do it themselves, that does a few things for you. It shows that you're an expert in that field and that you understand that field immensely. So let's go to, landscaping, right? If you tell people how to build their own patio, what's going to happen? They're going to know the steps on how to build a patio. And if you go into actual detail on how to build a patio, they're going to realize that's a lot of steps. That's a lot of things that they have to do. Let alone, most of the times, that person is one single person while you have a full team. So not only do they know that you know how to do the work, but now they also know how hard the work is. And yeah, some people might decide to do it, but other people are going to go with you because you already showed, you already told them how to do it. You proved to them you know how to do it. So why are they going to go with anybody else who may or may not know how to do it? So that's another reason why I love the email, and like using your email list to the best of your ability. Education, great email type. Another great email type is like the value post, and like just like kind of sharing additional information. One of the type of emails that I recommend to a lot of my customers is just to let them know like what else you offer, right? I'm gonna stick with landscapers here because I have a real story. But I had a neighbor. A neighbor has this landscaping company that cuts their lawn every week. And when it came to like getting their landscaping updated, like they wanted to get like new trees, new bushes and stuff like that in their yard, they didn't go with the company that cuts their grass. And I was surprised because like there's an existing business relationship there. You already trust them enough with your yard. Why wouldn't you go with that same company? So I asked him, like, why? What made you go with a different company? He's like, oh, I didn't know they did landscaping. I thought they just cut grass. And that's like mind blown. But you'd be surprised at how many of your customers don't know. Actually, you probably wouldn't be surprised. But so many of your customers don't know the full-fledged, like your full service offerings, right? So you kind of need to tell them. And that's what we did for the landscaping company in the fall. We did a promotion for fall cleanups. And the fall cleanup promotion, we got a lot of open because we tracked the data. We got some opens, but we didn't get a lot of replies. We didn't get a lot of clicks, right? Which is a little surprising to me. But then I talked to the owner of the landscaping business, and what he told me was he got a lot more inquiries about fall cleanups than he has in the past. And that just shows you how impactful email is when it comes to this. Just because they're not interacting with the email doesn't mean there's a trickle down effect everywhere else. So really cool. And that's one thing we do with the email. We handle the heavy lifting. Like we're doing the deadlifts right now. We handle the heavy lifting of, you send us the email list. We create the email for you. We validate make sure all that information is correct that we're sending out. We format it for you. We verify the email address. We segment your email list. We do a whole lot when it comes to it. We do the reporting. And all you got to do is, all we ask you to do is to approve the email ahead of time, usually about like 1 or 2 weeks in advance. That way we're good to send it. But that's only 10 minutes of your day, of your week. Not a lot of time at all. And that's one cool thing is we take it all off your plate. So we're not adding anything onto your plate. We're just taking it off. My ultimate goal when I work with companies is to get to the point where you don't even need to approve it. But I know business owners, because I'm one too. Sometimes like I want to at least have the access to check it. But that's our number one goal. It's like we want to be so on point that you could just be like, Jeremy, you do you, because you're killing it. So, all right, we got 2 more sets, because with this deadlift, we're doing 4 sets. We are at, I think, 85 pounds here, which is actually where I first started. And this is kind of heavy for me, but that's how it is when it comes to recovery, right? I took, almost a month off of lifting. Now this is heavy again, you know? And that's what happens when it comes to like a whole lot of things in life. Next up, we're going to talk about like dieting, and how, you know, having that core strength and having that core foundation is important there too. But let's get this going. I took a long enough rest. All right. So yeah, when it comes to health, you know, the foundation is there. You know, I already spoke about like weighing your food, but the foundation there is really like, oh, I didn't mention that I also took some medication to help my weight loss. I think that's important to mention there too, because like I did have some help, right? Because I'm using the tools that are available to me. Now, my goal is also to get off the medication if possible, but ultimately, that's one thing I wanted to mention. But when it comes to dieting, a core thing is also making sure you're eating the right foods. Right now, that doesn't start overnight, right? There's a lot when it comes to eating the right foods. And for me, what worked was just buying the right things right off the bat, you know? And it's harder to eat a big bag of Doritos if that big bag of Doritos doesn't even exist in your home, right? But sometimes I got those cravings. Like the other night, man, I was craving some Cakesters. I went to the dollar store and got some Cakesters and I ate them. But you know what? That's okay, because I have the core foundations where I'm buying, you know, the fruit, I'm buying the vegetables, I'm buying the meats. I'm not buying too much of the frozen, you know, microwave meals. I'm cooking my food. I'm doing all those things. So now, like, essentially, what we have like 3 days a week. We have essentially not necessarily 3 same days, but like we have 3 meals a week that are the same. We have chicken teriyaki with noodles. We have tacos, and then we have pasta, right? Pasta with ground beef. Those 3 meals keep us going. Now we could probably make it into 4 meals or 5 meals or even 7 meals, right? But we want to have some flexibility where we can have some pizza some days. We can order out some other days. But having those 3 meals where I know I go to the grocery store and I need to buy chicken, I need to buy ground beef. And what kind of chicken do I buy? I'll let you know that in a second. Let's get this going. So chicken, I started with chicken breast. But then I did some more research online and I saw a lot of people saying that they like the chicken breast tenderloin. So I started buying some tenderloins and they're pretty good. Both are fine, but I also bought ground beef. I always do the least amount of fat on my ground beef as possible. So I did what, 93.7. I sometimes go 90.10. I use seasoning because otherwise I don't like the way it tastes. I use seasoning, but you know, doing those things helps that meal be delicious every single time. It's tasty, and we look forward to those meals. Even though we're having it every week, it's still an exciting meal for us. All right, so I got a minute for rest. I'm gonna set up our next workout is a cable leg curl. It's gonna be right there on the bench. Over here on the Smith machine, we got calf raises coming up later. And it's the same weight, so I don't have to change any weight here. So I'm gonna get set up for the leg curl, and we'll get that going. All right. So leg curls are interesting. You got to do both sides, and I hope this is a good weight. Now, that's the tough part about surgery, is I haven't worked out in so long that it's like I can't just go by the weight that I had done before. I have to use I have to start new, essentially. All right. So with these leg curls, all right, we're gonna get tight here. Let's start. So leg curls, we're gonna do 3 sets, 8 reps. All right. So leg curls, 1, are pretty cool. 2, you gotta move up. They isolate your hamstrings, right? And that's one thing that we could do in business too, you know, with the email systems. And a lot of people don't do this because it's hard. It's hard to do. But once you know how to do it, it gets a lot easier. But you can focus certain you can segment your customer list. And what that means is if certain customers are interested in certain features or certain services that you offer, you can target them only. Really, really great for, you know, certain promotions and certain you know, DIY offerings that value offerings that you're gonna share with them, because you're gonna get the people who are most interested in that. So, for example, if you're a personal trainer and you got somebody who's interested in group training, we can add that tag to that person's profile, so that way they're gonna get all the notifications about group training. Now, we do send out emails every once in a while to other people who may not be explicitly interested in group training, but the people who are interested in group training are going to get every single one of the notifications. And what that does, it increases the effectiveness. And that's the same thing with doing these isolated workouts, right? Because you're just isolating one muscle and it's effectively making that muscle stronger, which is pretty good. You know, one other thing when it comes to health, you know, when I started my health journey, my nutrition journey, I didn't really isolate any foods, but I did cut out specific foods. So I talked to you earlier, right? How I just stopped buying like bad foods for me, but I didn't cut out everything. I stopped buying, you know, the bags of chips. I bought a lot less, and I kind of replaced them. You know, replacement really helped me with overcoming it, because I still had cravings for food, for snacks. But what I did with those cravings, I replaced it with something better. So, for example, instead of Doritos, now I have like edamame peas. I think that's what they're called, and they're pretty tasty. The ones that I have, I think I could put a link in an affiliate link in the description below. Pretty good. Like one bag has like 10 grams of protein and like maybe 10 grams of carbs or something like that. But still, it's like only 110 calories or something. I forget what the exact macros are, but man, they're pretty good and they hit the spot. Ooh, this is getting tight. 4, 5. All right, yep. And you know, when it comes to the dieting too, not just like choosing, like replacing the foods with stuff that's gonna, you know, crave your hunger, but another thing I did was you know, adapting my meals, right? So like one of the easy things to do was to replace the ground beef, right? I didn't have to buy, I stopped, well, I was never a fan of buying the 80%, 80-20, but I think I would sometimes buy like 85-15. So it was a lot easier, a little bit more expensive though, but a lot easier to replace that with something that's less fatty, you know, a little bit better for me. So that's one of the things that I ended up doing there. You know, makes a difference because less fat, less calories, a little bit healthier. You know, I chose leaner cuts of red meat. One of the things I love getting at Aldi, man, are these ahi tuna steaks. Ooh, so good. And they're like pure protein. Amazing. They don't always have them. They usually have like salmon all the time, which has a lot of fat. But oh, man, those little things, like replacing, you know, things that like the unhealthy foods I used to eat with healthier options, it's really good. Makes it easy. So what else? Whew, this is getting tough, man. That's right. That's exactly why we're here, because these workouts aren't easy. You know, working out isn't easy. Building a business isn't easy. You know, eating healthy isn't easy. A lot of these things aren't easy, but the results are certainly worth it, right? When it comes to working out, what are the results you're going to expect? Longevity. You're going to have a longer life. For me also, you know, I want to look good. I have a vacation in May. I have another vacation in August. You know, both vacations, I have different goals. So my August or my May vacation, which is right around the corner, it's like March right now. So my May vacation, what I want to reach like 14% body fat for my May vacation, which is going to be tough, but that's my goal because I want to look good. But I also know, you know, one of the good things about fitness is that it gives you a longer life. You know, me at 210 pounds, that was not going to be sustainable. I couldn't play with my kids. I got tired. You know, even just sitting at my desk, I got tired, which is crazy because you're not doing anything. I mean, yeah, you're doing stuff, but like you're not physically active. So why am I physically tired? Didn't make sense. But I was getting tired. So, you know, getting in shape fixed a lot of that for me. And eating right. I mean, eating right is a whole nother part of that. Because when it comes to eating right, that's even more important than working out, right? Because you have to eat the right amounts. You know, working out is only going to burn what, 100 or 200 calories. Yeah, you know, getting more muscle helps raise your base metabolic rate or whatever, your BMR. But that's like a longer term goal. It's not something that happens overnight. So nutrition comes first. But yeah. This is tough, man. I'm glad I'm getting back into it though, because you know what? I don't want to be where I was back in May. You know, I was scared right after surgery. I was scared after surgery that I was going to just get used to not working out again. You know, I wasn't going to want to spend my evenings, my nights working out. Because you know what I did instead while I was recovering? I did some walking on my walking pad, but I also played video games, right? I still play video games, don't get me wrong, but I play video games. And you know what? It would be easy for me right now to just go and play video games right now instead of working out. So much easier. But I put in those habits and I'm here now doing my workout. All right. All right, I'm gonna move the camera back. My next workout are lunges. Whoops. My next workout are lunges. We're gonna do it right here. I got like a few more seconds on my rest timer. All right. So lunges are pretty cool. You know, and I remember doing lunges back in high school, back in school, you know, and I always thought they were like a silly workout. All right, I need to move the camera back a little bit more. I need more room. That's why. But yeah, lunges were a pretty cool workout, because I remember back in school, I would do lunges without weights, so they felt kind of easy. But lunges are pretty interesting because what you're doing here, you're doing two things, right? You're balancing, but you're also challenging your leg muscles in different ways. And it's the balance that gets me, because you want to be stable. And when it comes to like the email systems with your business, with businesses, is your emails, you want to balance the amount of promotions and offers that you're sending out. Sorry. All right, I think that was 10. Other side now. So yeah, when it comes to your emails, you want to balance what you're sending out. I said before, you want to send educational emails. You want to send emails that provide value. You also want to send emails reminding them about your reviews, right? Remind people why other people love you. What do they like about your service the most? People want to see that, because it goes back to like, what services do you offer? You got to place yourself like a customer. Just because you're good at group training doesn't necessarily mean you're also good at personal training, one-on-one, or vice versa. Just because you're good at one-on-one doesn't mean you're great at group training. So when you send out those reviews, when you remind people about why they love you, it gives them a reason to buy, even without an offer. So reviews are another avenue that you want to share with other people. Excuse me, sorry. And then you also want to send your offers, right? But it needs to be a great offer, right? What's the use of sending a not so great offer to your customer? It doesn't make sense. Like, there's this one restaurant that every weekday, essentially every weekday, I get an email from them offering 10% off my restaurant meal, right? So there's a couple problems with that. One, I get this email from them every weekday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I get an email from them giving me 10% off. So essentially, I already know Monday through Thursday, I'm always able to get 10% off. But two, it's 10%. That's not a lie. That doesn't even cover the tip. Tip is what, 20%? I think some people online are trying to say it's 30%, which I think is crazy. But it doesn't even cover the tip at 10%. So, not a great offer. And then the offer comes out so frequently that it doesn't even feel like an offer anymore. It just feels like standard procedure, right? So that's the problem with that email. If I were working with this restaurant, what I would do is I would tell them, because it's an Italian restaurant, I would tell them to send out an email, an educational email, how to make restaurant's name famous pasta at home, right? And go through all the ingredients you have to do in order to make your pasta. Now, you don't have to put in, like, expose your secret sauce, but you share what goes into it. Share that it takes, 60 minutes to prep. Or what they could always do is come to your restaurant, no prep necessary. That's the educational. Provide value, let them know that they can reserve their seats. Let them know when you're less busy. Let them know, some other partners of yours. Remind them of your reviews. Who are your best servers? Shout them out. Who works with your team? Who's the cook cooking the meals that nobody gets to see? Give them that insight. And then give them the offer. Offer needs to be more than 10%. It's got to be something great. Free appetizer. Free is awesome. Everybody loves free. Free appetizer could be the same as your 10%, right? You can say free appetizer. They got to buy 2 entrees, right? They're going to spend entrees nowadays are what, $20 each? So that's $40 for 2 entrees. And an appetizer is what? $7. So it's a little bit more than 10%, but even still, it's free. I love free. And I think you do too. Another thing too, if you really want to get customers in Monday through Thursday, because your weekends are busy, remind people, just have a different menu for Monday through Thursday. And remind people, like, show people your Monday through Thursday menu and have a Friday through Sunday menu. Maybe your Monday through Thursday are normal price, your Friday through Sunday are premium price. But that's one of the other things you can do. But ultimately, you need to have a great offer. Now, back to balance when it comes to nutrition. And I kind of hit on this earlier, but I'm going to say it again. It's not about being perfect. It's about having the right things in place. That way, you're eating the right things, right? So it's about having the fruit available in the house. That's one thing that was important to me. I had strawberries in the house. And the thing with fruit, especially fresh fruit, is it goes bad. So I buy it. If I don't eat it, I'm throwing it out. And then I hate being wasteful, which is a big problem. Because if you're not in the mood to eat your strawberries, they might go bad. So I would just eat them. That's, balancing. I started buying these protein shakes. That way, they're not meal replacement shakes, right? They're not meal replacers. But that way, I'd be closer to hitting my protein goals. Because I read online that what you really should aim for when you're trying to lose weight and like trying to, maintain your muscle is you want to have 1 gram of protein for every pound of lean mass that you have. So for me, that's about 130 pounds of lean mass. So 130 grams of protein. I was struggling with that. So I bought the protein shakes. That way I could have one in the morning, start my day off right, and keep going. Another thing too, I started buying eggs. I started buying egg whites to increase the protein. And just like, slowly, one by one, bettering my refrigerator, bettering my pantry, and improving my diet. I mean, one other thing I did was I started buying Fairlife milk. I also have the Aldi version, but what that is essentially protein milk that has 50% more protein. That way when I'm drinking my coffee, I would have a little bit more protein than usual. Really great move, I think, on my part. All right, my next workout is a calf raise. So we're gonna do a calf raise. I'm gonna put these dumbbells away and get ready for that. All right, 1 second. So guys, if you made it this far, I want to thank you. We're still got like 2 more workouts to go. But if you're interested in rebuilding and watching, you know, as I rebuild my strength, build my business, and keep on my fitness journey, I appreciate you subscribe. I'll be here. We're going to keep up this reps and revenue series, and I'll talk about email, business, fitness, and health. So, all right, next up, our calf raises. So we're gonna do, it says 15 reps. So let's see if we can do that. You know, again, I think this is almost the same weight that I did before, but the calf is an interesting muscle. It's a muscle you use every single day. So I feel like I should be able to do this. If I have to lower the weight, then I have to lower it. But let's go. And that's the interesting thing about like the calves, is that it's one of those muscles that's like, it's a small muscle, but it's mighty, right? And when it comes to small muscles, there's a lot of small muscles in your body and in your brain, right? Like when I talk about your brain, small muscles, it's about those habits. What's one of the habits that I built up? When it came to food, it's weighing my food, right? That's the habit that I'm most proud of that I built up. Now there's other habits I'm trying to build up right now. Like I'm trying to make sure I have, you know, like a protein shake in the morning. One that's like ideally like 50 or 60 grams of protein, which I'm still working on. But weighing my food is that small muscle I built up. Now it's almost automatic. Oh, I lost count though. I'm gonna pause right there. It's one of those health things that's now automatic to me. It's like I have a scale in my kitchen. It helps. I put like the food on there. Like let's say it's a container with sour cream, right? I take the lid off. I put the sour cream container on there. I zero out the scale, and then I start scooping it out. So I have 1 or 2 servings, and then I'm good. Sour cream's for my tacos, by the way. You know, I do the same thing when it comes to my wasabi peas, man. I love wasabi. I love spicy food, so wasabi peas are kind of great for me because they're spicy, but they're not like, they're high in sodium, so I gotta be careful. But still, they're not necessarily the most unhealthy as far as I know. If there's something I don't know, please let me know. But what I do is I take a scoop. Well, first I measure up my little bowl. It's a tiny little mini bowl. I measure that out. I weigh that out. Then I take a scoop. I see how many grams I have, and then at the end of the day, I add up all my grams. I know how many grams total I ate, and I put that in my tracker. So that's the weight. That's the muscle I built there. The muscle you can build with your business is sending the emails, right? Even just starting with 1 email per week is a muscle you can build up. You know, I challenge you. Start that. You know, spend some time tomorrow, Monday or Tuesday, any day. Spend some time just drafting out 4 emails for the next month. And remember, make it educational. Let it have value. Let it share your testimony, your reviews. Meet the team. And maybe just one of them has an offer in there. But ultimately, work on that. Because that's a muscle. Once you start doing 1 email per week, you'll see that it becomes a little bit easier to do 2, a little bit easier to do 3, and then you can do a lot more. So I want you to do that. But if you find out it's too much for you to do, that's what we're here for, you know? Because I know a lot of you guys are you're running businesses, you're operating businesses. You don't have time for email, or you rather do other things that actually you enjoy doing, right? I know a lot of HVAC people, they know they have to do email. They know they have to do marketing. And yeah, they could sit down, spend some time on Facebook and do some social media posts. Yeah, they could sit down, spend some time on their computer and send an email. But they rather be out there, we're fixing an air conditioning unit, or we're fixing the heater, fixing those complicated problems that most of us can't solve, right? So that's what we're here for. We'll do it for you. We just ask for 10 minutes, so that way you could read it through, make sure we're aligned with your brand and with your process, and we'll go ahead and send that out for you. We have different plans to meet your different needs. Yeah, that's the muscle you want to build up when it comes to your business. Doing a little bit here and there, but it's really something good to practice. Start doing one per week, and you'll see how hard it is, or how easy it becomes. Because at first it's hard, right? Even the same thing when it came to working out. Doing one workout a week was a struggle. Even coming back from surgery, one workout a week was tough. Because one, I got so used to not doing it that it's like, okay, now I have to find this time again. And it's tough to find the time when you've already replaced it with something else. So, yeah, build up that habit. Do it now. Use that small muscle. And then you can understand if you want to keep building that muscle in the business. Or the good thing with business is it's not like your body. You can outsource it. You can outsource it. And that's what we're here for. Because I know there's lots of you who don't want to do it, which is understandable. And we'll do it for you. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I think we got like 2 more workouts. 1 more workout. Let me see. Yeah, we got 1 more workout. And I was going to do step ups, but I'm skipping that one. Mainly because I'm feeling it in my legs. So sometimes, what I have to do sometimes is I just have to know when enough is enough. So one thing I want to do now is a pull through. How much weight do I have on there? Okay, I think that's a good enough weight. Let's edit. So it says 44, but it's a single stack. So I think it's actually 22. So we're gonna do pull throughs. Pull throughs target the glutes, and I think glutes are super important too, man. It's like there's so many different workouts, like especially now that I'm not trying to use my abs too much, or put a lot of pressure on my core. I'm still putting some pressure, but not all the pressure that I used to, because that's where I had a hernia surgery in the abs. So I'm like kind of like figuring out how to do my same motions, but putting pressure elsewhere. And the one area I've noticed I put a lot more pressure on lately is my glutes, right? And it makes these workouts a lot easier. So we're gonna do some pull throughs here. How many do I have to do? I don't know. I'll do 10. But that's like the cool thing about the leg workouts is that like there's so many muscles there that are almost hidden, but they provide so much strength even for other workouts. Like even when I'm doing rows, I could readjust a lot of the weight load into my core, or into my glutes. Really, really cool. And like, I guess I do the same thing when it comes to eating. Sometimes I have a lot for lunch. Sometimes I have a lot for dinner. But that's where tracking things makes a lot of sense. But yeah. Whew. I lost count, man. That's the tough part, man. I have about talking while doing these workouts. I lose count. I think that was 10. But yeah, I'm rebuilding my strength, building my business, and building my health. I can't stress enough how scary it was. Like, go to the doctor and like him telling me, based on the lab results, the blood labs, that I was pre-diabetic. That scared me because like I know a lot of diabetics and they just like their lives are completely different. I don't want to go in that path. And I was at the point where like I could make a change, right? And I tried so much in the past to like do it, but like there was a lot of things that I was missing when it came to doing it. One was the motivation, right? And that's where like I'm thankful for God giving me my 2 beautiful children, right? Because that was like the last layer of motivation that I needed. My son, 2 years old, he at like 1.5 years old was running around like crazy, and I couldn't keep up with him. And I'm like, this energy is just gonna increase up until he's like an adult, right? Because like most of the times you don't like lose energy until you're an adult. But like I think that most of the times we lose energy as an adult because we're not eating right, we're not active. I think there's plenty of ways to keep your energy up as an adult. But anyways, what I'm trying to get at is he was just going to get more and more active. And then I had a girl on the way. And I looked at myself in the mirror. You can find me, if you look at me I have a before and after picture of me on X, at Fat Empire. And I was like, this is not the example I want to set for my kids. And I'm like, I wouldn't want my daughter to date me. Not like, I mean, that came out weird, right? But like, I'm looking at me, I'm like, man, I'm fat. I don't make a good impression. I'm out of breath after like walking a couple of 1,000 steps. I can't even run a mile. I couldn't run a mile, man. Now I could jog a mile. I do like the last time I did a mile was like a month or 2 ago, before the surgery, of course. And I think I did a mile in like 12 minutes. So I got some work to do. I want to do like 8 minutes because I think in high school I did like 8 minutes. So I want to get back to that. But like I couldn't run a mile. It would hurt. It would hurt my shins because one, I think I have bad posture while running. But 2, I had 50 more pounds. That's like 33% extra weight on me that wasn't there before, And then once they were both born, or once my daughter was born, I realized, man, I lost more weight than both of them weight combined. I was carrying both of them all the time, Now combined they weigh 40 pounds. And I lost more weight than what they weigh combined. And now I can hold them longer. I can be with them. I can stay engaged with them. I can hold them, which is the greatest part. Sure, I get tired still. That's why I'm working out, because I want to be able to hold them all day if I needed to. I want to be able to play basketball with my son if he wants to play basketball. I want to be out there playing soccer for 90 minutes with him if he needs another person on his team. I want to be there. I want to be the example for my daughter, for standards when she's looking to date. She's free to choose whoever she wants, but I want to be a good example. I don't want to be the bad example. And that's what drove me to do this. And then I also thought about my business, because with my prior business, when I was overweight too, you know, I go to businesses face to face, introduce myself, and I realized, man, this isn't a good look. You know, like the way if I look at myself how I was at 210 pounds and compare it to how I look now, and if I was to introduce myself to me, who would I trust more? I hate to say it, but it's the way you know, there's a lot of things that go on, but I would automatically assume the person who's in shape has their business in shape too. And now, as you get to know somebody, you get to learn whether or not that's true, right? Because sometimes the person who's in shape doesn't have the most in shape business, and sometimes the person who's out of shape, they're out of shape because their business is running flawlessly, right? There's a lot of different things, but that's just how first impressions work, right? And now I'm making a much better first impression. Now, yeah, I gotta learn how to shape up my beard, right? I gotta learn a couple of things. I gotta, you know, fix my hair sometimes. But at least I fit in my clothes. You know, actually, I gotta get smaller clothes. But yeah, guys, I want to thank y'all for joining me on this video. Thank you for joining me on this journey. You know, today was leg day, and we built our legs up. Our legs are the foundation of our body, and we talked to you about the foundations of your business. You know, our next workout is going to be our push workout. And push workout is where we really push ourselves and we push our muscles to do more than we could do before. And I'm really excited about that one, because it's really about pushing yourself to do things that you couldn't do in the past. We're going to be doing bench presses. We're going to be talking about business and email, and how I push myself in my nutrition goals to make sure that I eventually ended up under my weekly calorie goals. So definitely subscribe for more reps and revenue. If there's anything in particular you want to see, let me know. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. And stay tuned, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm Jeremy, and I'll see you in the next one, all right? Peace.